everything you need to start your morning. This is Good Day Tampa Bay.
How do you put a price tag on the tragedy? BP just agreed to settle with more than 100,000 victims from several fishermen and others, including right here in Florida. So what does this mean? And when could people see that money? Attorney Felix Vega is back with us this morning. He's host of On the Docket, the radio program. Good morning to you. Thanks for being with us.
Good morning, Kristen.
And so the $7.8 billion sounds like a lot, but for some of the plaintiffs, how BP came up with that number could actually turn out to be a huge issue, right?
Right. That remains a million-dollar question because the $7.8 billion goes to the settlement regarding a class action suit filed by those 100,000 fishermen. What remains to be seen and what BP is being very secretive about is how the legal fees are going to be paid, because some of the fishermen did not use lawyers, some did. So it's going to offset some of the settlement payments to those fishermen that did not use lawyers. So the settlement agreement still needs to be approved. That's very important for everyone to realize at this point, because the fishermen need to agree to the amount and also their individual amounts that they could get paid out in the end.
And of course, states along the Gulf Coast, like us here in Florida, are hoping for some sort of settlement as well. So how is this $7.8 billion proposed settlement factor into that $20 billion recovery fund that we've been hearing so much about?
That's going to be the other controversial part of this whole settlement agreement, because BP has proposed paying that $7.8 billion out of the remaining money out of that $20 billion fund. According to some of the numbers that I saw this morning, there's about $9.5 billion left in that fund. $6.5 billion already has been paid out to about 570,000 people. But that money was originally set up, like you said, for immediate claims, for lost profits, for those businesses to get restarted right after the oil spill happened, as well as the cleanup effort. The states have filed their own lawsuits, but that money was supposed to be in place for those immediate claims, and that's what it's kind of a little issue, why they're taking that settlement money out of the trust account as opposed to paying directly from their own coffer, so to speak.
So what happens when that fund runs out?
That's another. The interesting thing with this is that what BP has decided to do, they originally decided to phase out the fund at some point, pay out the remaining money in the $20 billion. But what they're going to do is set up, according to them, what they're calling other vehicles, other settlement mechanisms. Now, what it affects is those people that have already made claims against that $20 billion fund. What are they going to do? They're allowed to either stay in, try and still get the claim if they're not going to settle, or they're going to opt out and go on to another claim and start all over again. That's the problem.
What a big mess. And it's, you know, there's so many people affected, businesses, individuals, states, that everybody feels that they deserve a piece of that pie, but there's only so much pie, even though we're talking about a huge company that... Right,
and one of the things that with BP, they originally agreed to waive the $75 billion cap that's actually in place under the 1990 Oil Pollution Act, and that is a federal guideline. They said, okay, we'll agree to waive that cap and I'll open themselves up to the lawsuits. Now, the lawsuits have really started because they have the state suing BP, you have individuals suing BP, and after all the investigations were done, all the companies started suing each other. So you have Transocean that owns the Deepwater Horizon, the actual rig that blew up and sank. You have BP that owns the well underneath the ocean. They're now suing each other and trying to divvy up who's responsible. So when that goes to a jury has to decide, BP, you owe this much money, Transocean, you owe this much money, or they're not going to be able to decide who owns what, because did the rig fire start the whole mess, or was it the cementing and the rigging underneath the ground in the well itself? So there's a lot of dynamics in play with just the structure of the well itself and also the leasing of the rig to BP. So all those issues are going to be fleshed out in court. The expenses, the legal fees we talked about. I looked today, there was over 72 million documents already produced in this lawsuit, the one that the fishermen have. Over 300 witnesses have been deposed. So if this case gets continued, you can expect that number to increase and all the legal fees to increase as well.
So this could go on forever, and not to mention the lives that were lost as well.
Exactly, and that's the other tragedy to this.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, Felix. Always
my
good
pleasure,
to have you.
Kristen. Thank you.
Still ahead this hour, take a look at this. A TV stunt goes horribly wrong.